I had been talking to Sam on a dating app for a couple of weeks, and everything seemed perfect. He was kind, attentive, and just the right amount of mysterious. His messages always carried a charm that made me feel seen and appreciated. Something people nowadays call a green flag. When he finally asked me out, I couldn't have been more excited. Our first date was at a quaint little cafe on the edge of town. Sam was even more engaging in person. His deep voice, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. It all made me feel at ease. We laughed about the quirks of online dating, shared stories about work, and talked about our favorite childhood memories. Everything about him seemed so genuine. By our third date, I felt like I could trust him. So when he invited me over to his place one evening, I didn't hesitate. "I'll cook for you," he said. "You won't regret it." His house was in a quiet neighborhood, tucked away on a street lined with tall oaks. It was a cozy, neatly kept home, inviting and warm. Inside, soft lighting and the scent of garlic and herbs filled the air. We shared drinks and laughed over silly stories as he finished preparing dinner. But as I looked around the living room, something caught my eye. In the corner of the room was a large cage housing a bright white cockatoo. Its head was adorned with a cute yellowish crest, and it tilted its head curiously when it noticed me staring. "Oh, that's Charlie," Sam said, following my gaze. "He's a bit of a talker." I smiled and stepped closer to the cage. The bird was striking, with intelligent eyes that seemed to study me as much as I was studying it. "Hello, Charlie," I said softly. The cockatoo ruffled its feathers and tilted its head to the other side, as if it were sizing me up. Sam chuckled. "Don't worry, he's cool with strangers." I laughed, brushing it off. But the way the bird's gaze lingered on me felt odd. I turned my attention back to Sam as he brought over 2 plates of steaming pasta. Dinner was delicious, and we quickly fell into our usual rhythm of playful banter and easy conversation. But every so often, I'd catch Charlie staring at me. I tried to ignore it, but there was something unnerving about those unblinking eyes. After dinner, we moved to the couch with glasses of wine. Sam leaned in closer, and for a moment, I thought he was about to kiss me. But before anything could happen, the cockatoo let out a piercing screech. "Help! Help! Help!" The voice was startling, a mix of terror and desperation. My body tensed as I turned to look at the bird. It was perched on its swing now, its beady eyes locked onto mine. Sam sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm so sorry about that. He gets like this sometimes. Probably watched too much TV." I forced a nervous laugh, but the bird's cries had shaken me. "It's okay," I murmured, though my voice wavered. The atmosphere calmed for a few minutes. However, it wasn't for too long. Approximately 10 minutes into the chit-chat, Charlie let out another screech, repeating the word "help" over and over. This time non-stop. I tried to focus on Sam as he continued to apologize, but I couldn't shake the unease that was creeping over me. The bird's cries echoed in my ears, each one more unsettling than the last. "Maybe I should head home," I said finally, forcing a stiff smile. "It's getting late." Sam looked disappointed but didn't press me to stay. "Of course," he said. "Let me walk you to your car." As I gathered my things, I glanced at Charlie one last time. The cockatoo was silent now, but its eyes followed me as I moved. My stomach churned with an inexplicable sense of dread. When Sam lingered at my car, his eyes seemed to study me too closely. I muttered a quick goodnight and drove off, my heart racing for reasons I couldn't fully explain. The next day, I texted Sam to thank him for dinner, but he didn't reply. At first, I thought he was just busy, but days turned into weeks, and my messages went unanswered. I tried to convince myself it wasn't a big deal. Maybe he'd lost interest, or maybe the bird's outburst had embarrassed him. Still, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. A month later, I was scrolling through the news on my phone when a headline stopped me cold. Local man arrested for kidnapping attempt. Victim escapes with bruises. I clicked on the article, my pulse pounding. Sam's face stared back at me, his familiar smile now twisted into something sinister. My breath caught as I read the details. A woman had been lured to his home under the pretense of a date. She had narrowly escaped, running barefoot to a nearby convenience store for help. The article went on to describe how police had searched his property and made a horrifying discovery: the remains of another woman buried in his backyard. My stomach turned as I read the timeline. She had been missing for 6 weeks. Then the article showed a photo of the deceased victim. My heart stopped. The woman in the picture looked exactly like me. A cold sweat broke out across my skin as I replayed that night in my mind. The cozy house, the warm lighting, the bird. My thoughts stumbled over themselves as the truth began to take shape. The cockatoo. I quickly realized that cockatoos can't form words on their own. They can only mimic sounds they've heard before. The bird hadn't been frightened by me. It hadn't been watching too much TV. It had been repeating the desperate cries of the woman who had come before me, the woman who looked like me. My hands shook as I pieced it all together. The way Charlie had stared at me, the way Sam's demeanor had shifted when I wanted to leave. I had been in that house completely unaware of the danger I was in. I could have been the next headline. From that day on, I couldn't stop thinking about that night. Sam's arrest brought me some closure, but the memory of that night would never leave me. And every time I hear cockatoos mimic human speech, I feel the chill all over again. Thanks so much for making it to the end of this video. A quick shout out to my patrons: Seven Cities Journalist, Mr. Sankofa, Austin My Love, Rinku Star, William Hartley, Cupcake Hips, Alonzo, IC Narrates, and Jesse Hartley. And guys, every month I put in the description a different cause or organization or charity to give money to donate. Me, myself, I'm devoutly Christian, so these are the places that I tend to include in my tithing for the month. And if you so feel led to give back to someone in need who really needs that operation for that super rare disease, or to relieve a family of their grief and their loss, or even just general natural disaster funds, it would be so wonderful if you guys could check out the links in my description, or even just go off and find another cause that you would like to donate to. I highly encourage it. Even if you can only give $1, it is so good to help people in their time of need. And I love the idea of paying it forward. And hey, if you're one of my patrons and you're giving to me monthly and you don't have enough funds to do both, to support me and to support someone else in need, I also highly encourage not being my patron, even if you do want to eventually in the future, and giving to that other person. I would really appreciate that, guys. Let's make this a world that loves and cares about each other. And aside from that, thank you guys again for watching and also for your continued support. Let me know how I can be praying for you. You can leave a comment. You could find my Instagram and send me a message. You can message me in my Discord server, and I'd love to do that for you guys. Thank you again so much. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.